Hi, it's Rob Wilson from WPMeansBusiness.com. I'd like to take you on a little bit of a journey of some of the basic things that a beginning hacker might be able to see on your website and exploit and make use of. And some of the reasons why you might need to think about some of your security and follow some of the free guide that I've given on my website, www.meansbusiness.com, to help tighten up some of the security. The way that attackers work they work in a variety of ways, but they normally will build up from a little bit of knowledge in terms of attacking your site. Some of them will just be blindly trying one particular way of getting into websites over and over and over again in an automated way until they find one they can get into. If somebody particularly wants to target your website, they may well look at things in a little bit more detail. But however they're trying to get into your site, it helps if you can make things a little bit more difficult for them. So for example, this is a plain site without security installed. If we look at the source code for that page and do a search for generator, and then have a look at the second one, you can see it tells you what version of WordPress they're running. You can also find this out by going to something like the README file. So every time you update the site, it'll update the README file and change the version number again. Now with that little bit of information, particularly if it was say an old version which has known problems, they can look up the known problem, use a little bit of a programming that probably already exists on the internet to break into your site, and they're away. So hiding some of that information helps a little bit, but it's not the only thing that you need to do. So let's have a little look at something else that goes a little bit wrong with WordPress. If I go to the login page and I type in a username that doesn't exist and a password, any old password, try logging in, you'll see it says invalid username. Now if I try that again with a username that I know it does exist and a random password, you can see it now tells me that the password is incorrect, but I now know there is a user called test. Now one of the bits of software that you can easily run on a website is what's called a brute force program, which can basically keep filling in the username test, keep filling in different passwords until it finds one that gets in. So if you've got a particularly weak password and you've not got anything to stop people trying multiple passwords and multiple times, this may well provide a very easy way to get into the site. Now you can fix this, and I'll show you what happens when that's been fixed in a minute. So let's have a little look at what happens if an attacker gets into your site. A common attack at the moment is to use something called TimThumb, which is a little script that's used to take big pictures and automatically make thumbnails out of those pictures. The problem with that little bit of software, which is used in lots of different themes, if it hasn't been updated, is that it has a weakness in that it actually can download a file. It's supposed to be an image, but it can be any file from any other web server. So if an attacker downloads in the right way, they can download a program file onto your computer using the TimThumb program, which can't be obviously changed into a thumbnail, but the file that's uploaded ends up on your machine, and the attacker can find out where that is quite easily and go in and run that program that they've now uploaded. So imagine they've managed to upload a file onto your server. What kind of damage can they do? I've uploaded a little bit of hacking script that is commonly available to show you the sort of things that people can do. So this is just one file on the server that now gives me access to, I can look at every single file on the server, I can go into directories, I can upload files, I can download files, I can view files. So if I go back to the top, so if I click on README, I can view the README. So I can basically view any file. So if I go back to files again, you can see I've got access to wp-config. That contains your username and passwords and database settings for your database. I can then go off to a nice little program. Here's a bit of the program here where I can put in the username and passwords and the database, and I can basically get access to everything in that database, including looking at usernames, changing passwords of particular users, so I can then access your site even if I didn't know what the username was to begin with. It has a variety of other things that I can do. I can run different commands on the server, and I can use a little bit of brute force if I say I want to try and break into somebody else's system. I can use different things on here using different dictionaries to try and break in. I can see what else is on the network, so I can send pings out around the network. And so it's pretty advanced. Obviously, with now on here, I can upload any file I like. I don't need to have FTP access or anything else. I've got enough access to it to do stuff on your machine. I can even change file permissions to something different. I can set the dates on files so that you can't even see that file's been changed. It's just phenomenal what we can do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause this video and just go and enable the security plugins and just show you what the difference some of those settings that I advise you to change have made. I've put some of the security back on again. So first of all, if you look at page source and do a find for the version number that this site is, 3.4.1, you'll find there's no reference to it at all. If we search for generator, there's just that one that was in there from the theme that I'm using. So that's kind of got rid of that completely. If I go excuse me, if I look at the README, that's still there. That needs deleting, which you'd have to do every time that you upload a new version of the every time you upload a new version of WordPress, you'll need to delete that. Okay, so let's have a look at the login, for example. Now you'll see a variety of different things that go on here. At some point, the security system is going to lock me out. So we'll just have a little bit of a play. So we've got one that we know doesn't exist. So it's locked me out. So as the admin user, right, I'll just have to unlock myself. Well, that was the security in action, because what it actually did there is I tried to use an invalid username and I've set the system up to lock out anyone who uses an invalid username. So hopefully you know what your username is. Okay, so let's try test, but with an invalid password. So at this point you get a thing saying the username you've entered is incorrect. It doesn't tell you what's wrong. I may well have to change one of my settings there, because just thinking about it, what happens now is if I put in a username that doesn't exist, it will lock me out straight away. So that's basically how it locks you out and what it looks like. That gives you a bit of an idea of some of the things that you can improve and make it much more difficult. That would be almost impossible for me to guess what's going on there on that website, because you're going to trip up all the time. But on the other hand, users of the system are able to do it quite happily. They're able to have five or so guesses, which is what I probably got it set to. They're also able to ask for their password to be reminded a couple of times as well before it will lock them out for a period of time. You do obviously have to balance the aspects of inconvenience against security, but it's about getting the balance just about right. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea of how you need to look after some of the security aspects. And if you visit wpmeansbusiness.com, you'll be able to download in the freebie section, you'll be able to download a guide to securing your website, which is completely free, and I hope you find it useful. Thank you.